You grew up thinking struggle meant you were stupid. You sat in classrooms, staring at pages, feeling your brain slow down while other students seemed to glide. You blamed your intelligence. You blamed your attention span. You blamed some invisible defect in you. Nobody told you the truth. Your mind was fine. The track you were forced to run on was crooked. You were sprinting with real effort in a system that rewarded obedience, not intelligence. You learned to chase grades, not understanding. You learned to please authority, not test reality. So every time you felt resistance, you did not ask if the task was useless or the frame was broken. You only asked what was wrong with you. In this video, you are going to see the operating code they use. Not positive thinking, not superficial productivity tricks. A step-by-step mental algorithm built from real research in cognitive science, neuroscience, and clinical psychology, rearranged for power, not for school. You will see how to delete narrative, slow down conclusions, flip beliefs, rewrite memory, detach your nervous system from other people, and treat identity as a tool. You will learn how high-level operators actually process reality. And once you see it, you will not be able to unsee the fact that you were never slow. You were just trained to think in a format designed to keep you controllable. The crooked misalignment. There are two different minds living in your skull. The first is the student brain. It is trained to remember, repeat, and submit. It wants to be told what is correct, so it can feed it back. It cares about being seen as smart more than actually seeing clearly. It attaches self-worth to scores, approval, and external praise. The second is the operator brain. It does not care about being a good student. It cares about leverage and outcome. It asks, what advantage does this give me? How does this help me control my reality, my money, my time, my relationships, my emotions? The student brain is perfect for systems that need quiet workers. The operator brain is a problem for systems that run on control, guilt, and fear. Your raw processing power was never the problem. The distortion was in direction and speed. You were taught to rush to conclusions, to answer fast, to have an opinion instantly, to emotionally attach to every story that passed your screen. You were trained to think in narratives and labels, not in data and cause and effect. So your mind became a frantic storyteller, not a calm analyst. You judged yourself based on how hard you were trying, not based on whether your effort was creating any real advantage. That is why some people seem calm, detached, and strangely effective while you feel busy, tired, and stuck. They are not smarter. They are not working harder. They are just running a different mental code. Right now, those people already live in a different cognitive reality. They do not get pulled so easily into drama. They do not jump to commit to every emotional frame. They see manipulation in timing, tone, and word choice before others even feel something is off. While you are still wondering how to feel confident, they are quietly adjusting the conditions around you. While you are fighting to be liked, they are deciding who is worth dealing with. Time is not neutral here. Every year you keep thinking in the wrong format. You fall further behind people who have already switched. Narrative deletion. Your brain hates empty space. It cannot stand raw events without meaning. Something happens, and within seconds your mind wraps it in a story. They did not text back. The event is simple, no response. The story appears fast. They do not care. You embarrassed yourself. You are not important. You fail a test. The event is simple. You did not meet a standard. The story appears. You are dumb. You are doomed. Your future is ruined. This story-making ability comes from what Daniel Kahneman called System 1. Fast, automatic, emotional thinking. It is not careful. It is not precise. It is quick, smooth, and confident. It gives you narratives that feel true because they are fluent and coherent, not because they are accurate. If you leave now, your brain will go straight back to running the same stories other people installed in you. Subscribe so this series stays in front of you, not buried under the noise that keeps everyone else predictable. System 1 has one job: keep you moving without burning energy. It grabs a few details, fills in the gaps with memory, fear, and habit, and hands you a ready-made explanation. System 2, the slow, analytical part of your mind, could question this. It could say, "What are the facts? What else could this mean? What am I missing?" But most of the time, System 2 stays asleep. It is lazy and energy hungry. So System 1 becomes your default storyteller, turning life into an endless stream of emotionally loaded interpretations that feel like reality. You do not say, "This event made me feel small." You say, "I am small." That shift from event to identity is where most of your self-destruction happens. Researchers like Elizabeth Loftus showed just how unreliable your mind really is. In her studies, people were given fake details about events they had seen, or even about childhood experiences that never happened. Over time, many of them remembered these things as real, not because they were lying, but because memory is not a recording, it is a reconstruction. Every time you recall an event, you are rebuilding it from fragments. Your current mood, current beliefs, and what others have said all bleed into that reconstruction. Then your brain saves the edited version as if it were the original. After that, you defend that story with your emotions. You feel hurt by something that may not have even happened the way you think it did. Drama gives your brain a strange kind of comfort. It inflates meaning, so you feel like your pain is at least part of a bigger story. Rejection easily turns into the belief that you are unlovable. A business failure turns into the belief that you are not meant to succeed. One harsh comment turns into the belief that everyone secretly thinks you are a joke. This exaggeration feels terrible, but it is stable. It gives your nervous system a simple, fixed explanation to run on, instead of living with uncertainty. You trade truth for emotional closure. The cost is huge. You stop taking risks. You avoid people, projects, and chances because you are not reacting to the event. You are reacting to the story your brain glued to it. Narrative deletion is the first tool in the operator algorithm. It starts with a brutal separation, what actually happened and what you decided it meant. You strip the event down to raw behavior and observable facts, not how you felt, not what you believe they intended, not what it means about you, just what was seen, heard, and done. Then, and only then, you treat your interpretation as a separate object. This is the story I told. This is not reality. This is a narrative my System 1 created to remove uncertainty. In clinical psychology, something similar is called cognitive reappraisal. Researchers like James Gross have shown that changing your interpretation of an event can change your emotional response without changing the event itself. Narrative deletion goes darker. It is not about feeling better. It is about regaining control over your frame. Here is how manipulators use your story-hungry brain against you. A narcissistic partner does not argue with the facts. They attack your meaning. They say things that make you question your memory, your worth, and your judgment. They frame normal disagreements as proof that you are difficult, ungrateful, unstable. Over time, you stop trusting your own experience and start living inside their narrative. They become the author. You become a character. Marketers do the same. They hook into your identity. They do not sell a product. They sell a story. The kind of person you are if you buy this, and the kind of loser you are if you do not. Your brain wants to belong to a story, so you comply. Skilled operators flip this dynamic. They listen to the stories people hand them and mentally strip them down to events. A colleague says, "Everyone is against me here." The operator hears, "Some people disagreed with you." A friend says, "I always ruin everything." The operator hears, "They made mistakes and are dramatizing." By dropping the narrative and keeping the event, they stay calm while others spiral. They are less easy to guilt, less easy to shame, and less easy to bait into emotional games. You start narrative deletion with your own life. When something hits you, you write or say in your head, "Event first, then meaning." Event. "They did not reply to my message for 2 days." Meaning. "I told myself they hate me and I embarrassed myself." Event. "My project was rejected." Meaning. "I told myself I am incapable and will never succeed." Once you split it like this, the meaning loses its grip. You can ask, what are 3 other possible meanings? Maybe they were busy. Maybe the project was not a fit, not a sign of your worth. Maybe there is missing information. You do not have to force a positive story. You just refuse to treat your first story as law. Narrative deletion is not about lying to yourself. It is about refusing to be bullied by the first emotional story your brain throws at you. It is about slowing down the moment when you fuse event and identity. When you install this, your internal world starts to quiet down. You suffer less from self-created drama. You see more clearly when others try to frame you, guilt you, or sell you. You stop playing the role of the emotional puppet and start acting like the operator that stands behind the story, not inside it. Cognitive velocity control. You have been praised your entire life for quick answers, fast replies in class, instant messages back, hot takes on social media. Speed has been sold to you as intelligence. The quicker you respond, the smarter you must be. But the research says something different. Ari Kruglansky studied what is called the need for closure. It is the urge to end uncertainty fast, to grab onto the first explanation and shut the door on doubt. People with a high need for closure hate ambiguity. They rush to opinions, decisions, and labels. On the surface, they look decisive. Under pressure, they look confident. In reality, they often make worse decisions, fall for bad information, and lock themselves into low-quality paths just to escape the discomfort of not knowing. Real intelligence is not the speed of your answer. It is your ability to hold uncertainty without emotional collapse, to not panic when you do not have a label yet, to sit in the space where most people start babbling, apologizing, or defending themselves. School did not train this. Social media kills it. The environment you live in rewards instant reactions and punishes slow thought. If you do not respond fast, people think you are weak, uninterested, or stupid. So your system 1 takes over. It throws out opinions, judgments, and emotional reactions just to keep you safe from the feeling of lagging behind. Your system 2, the part that could actually think, barely shows up. It has been conditioned to stay offline. Cognitive velocity control is the opposite of what you were taught. It is the decision to slow down inside your own head, even while the world rushes. It is not about hesitation. It is about deliberate delay. Something happens, and instead of slapping a label on it, you insert a tiny gap. Before you say they are rude, you wait. Before you say this deal is perfect, you wait. Before you say I know what this means, you wait. That small internal pause is not weakness. It is a power move. While everyone else is racing to be seen as certain, you are quietly collecting more data. You are watching who reveals their motives. You are giving your system 2 space to wake up. Decision research draws a sharp line between trained intuition and snap judgment. Gary Klein studied experts like firefighters and military commanders, people who make fast decisions under pressure. Their speed did not come from impulsive guessing. It came from thousands of hours of real feedback in a narrow domain. Their system 1 had been trained with real data, so its fast calls were grounded. Most people do not have that. They try to run expert-level intuition on almost no training. They guess and call it a gut feeling. Then they repeat the same mistakes for years because they never slowed down to actually analyze what happened. As an operator, you treat your fast reactions with suspicion unless they are in a field where you have deep, repeated experience and honest feedback. If you have built and sold many businesses, your fast sense about a business deal might be worth trusting. If you have gone through years of conflict and negotiation, your quick read on a certain type of argument may be sharp. But when it comes to people, opportunities, and threats you have not truly studied, your first emotional read is often just old fear, old bias, or old stories wearing a new mask. Cognitive velocity control means you do not immediately believe your own reaction. You notice it, then check it. Silence before certainty is a status signal. Think about who is allowed to be slow in conversations. High-status people. They pause, they take their time. Others wait. Low-status people rush to speak, rush to please, rush to answer. They cannot stand the tension of silence. They cannot risk being seen as unsure. So they throw out something, anything, just to stay in motion. Operators use that dynamic. They hold their face steady. They let others talk more. They listen to what people say when they are desperate to fill the gap. They watch who tries to push them into fast commitments. In practice, cognitive velocity control looks simple. Someone asks your opinion on a heated topic. Instead of snapping to your usual side, you say, "I am not sure yet. I am still watching." Someone pressures you to decide right now. You calmly repeat, If a decision cannot survive a short delay, it is probably not worth making. Someone insults you or challenges you. You feel the heat rise in your body. Instead of firing back, you feel the urge. You count a few seconds in your head. You let the initial spike pass. That delay brings your prefrontal cortex back online. Your system too gets a chance to decide whether this is even worth responding to. Control of speed is control of frame. The person who sets the tempo of thought and reaction usually controls the interaction. Most people give that power away. They let others rush them, corner them, and bounce them from emotion to emotion. When you start treating internal slowness as a weapon, people feel it. They may not know why, but they sense that you are not easy to push. You are hard to sell, hard to trigger, hard to stampede. In a world that worships fast takes and loud reactions, your ability to delay conclusion is not just rare, it is dangerous. Inversion training. Your mind is biased to defend what it already believes. Once you accept something as true, you become its lawyer. You search for evidence that supports it and ignore or attack anything that threatens it. This is confirmation bias. Decades of research show the same pattern. People seek, remember, and interpret information in ways that confirm their pre-existing views. You do it with politics, relationships, self-image, everything. You think you are investigating reality. In truth, you are building a case to prove your story right. That is how mental cages harden. Beliefs you never chose on purpose become invisible rules that quietly run your life. Inversion is the demolition tool. Instead of defending your assumption, you flip it. You ask, what if the opposite is true? It sounds simple, but it is one of the few moves that can break the hold of long-term programming. Charlie Munger pushed this in decision-making. Invert. Always invert. If you want success, ask what would guarantee failure. If you want trust, ask what would destroy it. Under the surface, this taps into cognitive flexibility. Studies on flexible thinking show that people who can shift perspectives, entertain multiple interpretations, and question their first view are less trapped by bias and make better strategic decisions. You can apply inversion straight to your emotional beliefs. Take something that rules your behavior. For example, rejection is proof that I am not good enough. Now invert it. What if rejection is protection? What if many rejections are actually removing people and paths that would have drained you, used you, or limited you? Sit in that flipped frame for a while. Notice what changes. You do not have to fully believe it yet. The goal is to break the feeling that your original belief is the only way to see it. That small crack is where freedom enters. Try it with social beliefs. You have been trained to think being liked is always good. The belief is, being liked keeps me safe. Invert it. What if being liked is a trap? What if very high approval from everyone means you are quietly betraying yourself, overgiving, oversharing, and never holding a boundary? What if the constant need to be liked is what keeps you weak, broke, or resentful? From this angle, losing certain people's approval is not failure. It is data. It shows you where your values and their values no longer match. Suddenly, you see that chasing universal likability makes you a predictable puppet. Do the same with success beliefs. Culture pushes the idea that stability is safe and risk is dangerous. Stable job, stable image, stable routine. Invert it. What if stability is actually risk? If you freeze your skills, your network, and your thinking in a fast-changing world, you become fragile. The stable job can vanish. The stable relationship can collapse. The stable belief system can become useless in a new reality. In that flipped view, small controlled risks, experiments, and changes are what keep you safe long-term. Now the thing you feared starts to look like the thing you need. Cognitive behavioral therapy uses a softer version of this. Aaron Beck and Judith Beck built methods where you identify distorted thoughts and challenge them. That helps people reduce anxiety and depression. Inversion training uses the same cognitive tool, but aims at power and strategy. You are not just trying to feel less bad. You are trying to make your mind harder to control. Every time you invert a belief, you are saying to your nervous system, this story is not law. There are other ways to read the same event. That makes you less reactive and more flexible. You can run daily inversion drills. Take 3 strong beliefs and flip them. If you think, people who disagree with me are threats, invert to, People who disagree are stress tests for my thinking. If you think, I must always know what is going on, invert to, not knowing forces me to learn who I really am under uncertainty. If you think, conflict means the relationship is failing, invert to, no conflict means somebody is silently losing. Again, you do not have to fully switch sides. The exercise is to loosen the grip of unquestioned assumptions. People who cannot invert their own beliefs stay inside cages they did not build. Their parents, their culture, their early schools, their past partners built those cages. They just continue the maintenance. They fight hard to defend these old structures, thinking they are defending themselves. That makes them easy to manipulate. All someone has to do is speak to those inherited beliefs, and they will react on command. Operators refuse to be that predictable. They treat their own beliefs as objects to test, flip, and sometimes destroy. If an assumption cannot survive inversion, it does not deserve to rule their behavior. Memory rewrite, breaking emotional loops. You think your past is fixed. You think what happened is locked in, sitting in your mind like video files you can replay. That is not how memory works. Elizabeth Loftus and other researchers have spent decades proving that memory is reconstructive. In experiments, people watched a car crash video. When asked how fast the cars were going, the wording of the question changed their answers. When the word smashed was used, they reported higher speeds and even remembered seeing broken glass that was never there. Small suggestions changed what they remembered. In more intense studies, people were led to form detailed memories of events that never actually happened. The brain filled in the gaps and saved the fake story as real. Your past is not an archive. It is an ongoing editing process. Every time you recall an event, you drag it into the present, mix it with your current emotions, beliefs, and stories, and then you save that altered version. Over years, the story drifts further from what actually happened. But your body reacts as if it is precise fact. If you decided at age 13 that a humiliating moment meant you were worthless, and you have replayed that with the same meaning for years, the emotional loop grows stronger every time. Not because the event is realer, but because the story is more practiced. Memory rewrite starts with adjective deletion. You take a charged memory and strip all the loaded words away. Stop calling it humiliating, traumatic, unfair, soul-crushing. Describe it in sterile behavioral terms. What was said? What was done? Who was where? For example, instead of saying, "That day in class was humiliating and ruined my confidence," you say, "I answered a question incorrectly. Some people laughed. The teacher corrected me. My face got hot. I looked down. I avoided speaking for the rest of the class." When you do this, something important happens. The memory loses some of its poison. You have removed the instant link between the event and the meaning you glued onto it. Research on fear learning and memory reconsolidation shows that when you recall a memory in a new emotional state, and with a new interpretation, you can weaken or change the emotional charge attached to it. That is what exposure therapy does with phobias and trauma. You face the memory or the feared situation in a controlled way. Your nervous system learns that the danger is not what it thought, and the fear response slowly rewires. Memory rewrite for an operator serves a colder purpose. You are not trying to heal only. You are trying to remove meanings that limit your future behavior, especially those installed by parents, teachers, or cruel peers. Look at the identity lines you built from your past. Maybe you told yourself, "That breakup proved I am not worth staying for. That rejection proved I am not talented. That bullying proved I am weak." None of those are facts. They are sentences you stapled onto events and then repeated until they felt like identity. When you start deleting adjectives and rewriting the events in neutral language, those identity anchors loosen. The breakup becomes someone chose to leave the relationship after a series of conflicts. The bullying becomes, a group of kids regularly insulted and pushed me, and I did not know how to respond then. The rejection becomes, my work was declined by this specific person at this specific time. As you rewrite, you will feel resistance. Your ego is strangely attached to old pain. It uses it as proof of your story. If you let go of the drama, you also lose the easy excuse for staying small. That is why memory rewrite is dangerous power. Whoever controls the meaning of your past controls the range of your future actions. If you keep your original childhood meanings, then your parents, teachers, and early environment are still programming your decisions now. If an ex convinced you that nobody else will want you, and you never rewrite that, they still control your dating behavior years after they are gone. You do not erase events. You erase their authority. Every time an old memory fires and brings shame or fear with it, you run the same process. What happened in behavior terms? What sentence did I glue onto that? Who gave me that sentence? Does it deserve to rule my choices now? You might find that what felt like proof of your weakness was just proof of your age and inexperience. You were not weak. You were untrained. There is a difference. When you change that story, entire patterns start to collapse. You stop avoiding certain rooms, certain conversations, certain risks. The past stops acting like a chain and becomes what it actually is: data, mirror neuron override, and emotional desynchronization. Your brain is wired to sync with other people. In the 1990s, Giacomo Rizzolatti and colleagues discovered mirror neurons in the brains of monkeys. These cells fired both when the monkey performed an action and when it watched another monkey perform the same action. Later research in humans suggested similar systems. When you watch someone smile, frown, or wince, parts of your brain light up as if you are doing or feeling it. Elaine Hatfield studied emotional contagion, showing how people unconsciously mimic the facial expressions, tone, and posture of those around them, and in doing so, start to feel similar emotions. You are built to copy moods without noticing. This is useful in small, close groups. It builds connection. It helps you read danger and safety. But in modern life, it is a weapon used against you. Media pumps outrage. Your feed is full of fear, anger, and performance anxiety. You scroll, and your nervous system syncs with 1,000 strangers living fake highlight reels or constant rage. In groups, this wiring makes panic contagious. One person freaks out, others catch it. In relationships, it makes love bombing and emotional chaos effective. A partner pulls you into intense highs and lows, and your brain matches them, losing its own baseline. Nervous system detachment is the skill of breaking that automatic sync. Emotional desynchronization means you refuse to let your body mirror the room by default. You do not fight the emotion in your head first. You interrupt the physical copy process. Start with your breath. Under stress, your breathing gets shallow and fast. That signals danger to your brain and strengthens emotional contagion. If you slow your exhale on purpose, even for a few cycles, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the part linked to calm and recovery. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory focuses on how different states of the nervous system affect behavior and perception. Whether every detail of that theory holds or not, the practical part is simple. Long, controlled exhales tell your body that you are not in immediate danger. Next is micro-movement. When you enter a heated room, pay attention to your body. Notice your shoulders wanting to tense, your face wanting to match the frowns, your voice wanting to rise to match the volume. Instead of following, you slow down. You drop your shoulders slightly. You soften your jaw. You keep your face closer to neutral. You speak a bit slower and quieter than the room. This is not about acting cold. It is about refusing to be pulled like a puppet. You are teaching your nervous system that other people's storms do not own your internal weather. Your gaze matters too. In high tension, people dart their eyes, track every micro-threat, and scan for approval. That reinforces anxiety. Detachment means you pick a calm, steady point of focus. You look at the person speaking, but you are not begging them with your eyes. You are observing. You blink normally. You do not stare them down in some fake dominance display. You simply refuse to let your gaze broadcast panic or need. This calm visual signal feeds back into your body and reduces the pressure to sync with the chaos. When you hold stillness in a chaotic environment, something strange happens. Other people start to orbit around you. In a loud argument, the person who does not emotionally swing as hard becomes the reference point. The human nervous system is always looking for a stable signal. If everyone is anxious and one person is calm, that person becomes the gravitational center. Their state shapes the room more than the loudest voice. Operators use this without announcing it. They stay physically slower, emotionally cooler, and let others burn energy. Then they act from a place of clarity. Emotional desynchronization does not mean you never feel empathy or care. It means you choose when to match and when to hold your line. If someone close to you is grieving, you may decide to sync enough to be present with them. But even there, you keep one part of your awareness separate, so you can think, decide, and guide. In toxic groups, you do the opposite. You refuse to join the rage, the gossip, the panic. You stay internally detached, even if you say very little. That detachment makes you hard to recruit into mob behavior and mass manipulation. Once you start practicing this, you will see how often people try to use emotional storms to force outcomes. Instead of arguing facts, they raise their volume, speed up the pace, and flood the space with feeling. That works on most people. It will stop working on you. Your nervous system becomes less reactive, more autonomous. Other people's fear, shame, or anger can still register as information, but it will not hijack your reactions by default. You will not get dragged into their frame without your consent. Reality collapse, destruction of inherited definitions of success, failure, and self. Language is how your reality is installed. You grew up hearing words like success, failure, confidence, love, respect, as if they were solid, universal truths. They are not. They are cultural scripts. Social constructionism points out that many things you treat as natural are actually built by shared agreements and repeated stories. Cognitive schema research shows that early in life, you build mental templates about how the world works and who you are. These schemas shape what you notice, how you interpret events, and what options you even consider. The problem is simple. Most of your core definitions were not built by you. They were handed down and never seriously questioned. Take failure. In school, failure meant a bad grade, public shame, fear of parents, and a mark on your record. You learned that failure is a moral stain. So as an adult, you avoid situations where you might fail, even if the downside is small and the potential gain is huge. In reality, failure is just outcome feedback. You tried something. You got a result. That result carries data about what did not work. But if your definition is moral and emotional, you cannot use that data. Your nervous system shuts down. You think, I failed, therefore I am a failure. That identity label blocks learning and keeps you stuck in safe, low-growth loops. Look at confidence. Culture sells it as this magical feeling of always believing in yourself. So you think you need to feel confident before you do hard things. Yet research suggests a simpler view. Often what people call confidence is familiarity plus low self-monitoring. You have done something many times, you know the pattern, and you are not obsessively watching yourself. That looks and feels like confidence. The problem is, if your definition is wrong, you keep waiting to feel confident before taking action, instead of acting first and letting competence create the feeling later. Love is another loaded word. You were sold a story that love is pure, unconditional, and always good. You were not told that much of what passes as love is attachment, fantasy, and projection. Schema theory and identity research show that people often look for partners that match their early schemas, even if those schemas are unhealthy. That can mean confusing anxiety, obsession, and dependency with love. You cling to someone who triggers your deepest wounds and call it passion. Your definition traps you. You say, if this hurts this much, it must be real. In reality, it might just be your nervous system replaying old patterns. Reality collapse means you take these big words and tear them down. You sit with a blank page and write your current definition of success, failure, confidence, love, respect. Then you ask, where did this come from? Parents, school, social media, old pain. Then you do something most people never do. You erase those definitions and rebuild them as operational concepts. Success becomes specific outcomes I choose that match my values, skills, and desired lifestyle. Failure becomes data from an attempt that did not give the outcome I wanted. Confidence becomes my willingness to act despite incomplete certainty, built over time by repeated action. Respect becomes consistent alignment between someone's words and actions plus their treatment of my boundaries. Love becomes a pattern of behavior where two people consistently act in a way that supports each other's growth and safety, not just each other's comfort or fantasy. These definitions are colder, but they are clear. They can be measured. They can be tested. That is the point. Once you run your life on operational definitions, other people's emotional manipulation loses power. They cannot say, "If you loved me, you would do this," and expect you to fold. You will quietly compare their demand to your definition and see the mismatch. The cost of keeping your inherited definitions is high. You let your life be scored by rules you did not create. You feel like a failure based on standards that do not match your actual values. You chase success that looks good on social media but feels empty inside. You call unhealthy obsession love and stay where you are being slowly destroyed. You feel proud on command and ashamed on command because the culture around you trained your nervous system to light up when certain words are used. Operators rip that wiring out. They decide what these labels mean for them, and then they treat other people's use of these words as attempts at influence, not as automatic truth. Perceptual weaponization, turning observation into invisible leverage. Power in social situations is not about who talks the loudest. It is about who controls the frame. The frame is the shared answer to the silent question, what is happening here? Sociologist Irving Goffman studied how people define situations. If the frame is, "This is a joke," then cruel comments are brushed off. If the frame is, "This is a serious insult," the same words spark conflict. Whoever gets their frame accepted controls the range of possible behaviors for everyone else. Most people give this power away because they do not see it. They are too busy reacting to content to notice the frame. Your attention shapes other people more than you think. When you consistently ignore certain behaviors and pay attention to others, you are training them. That is basic reinforcement learning. If you reward complaining with lots of listening and sympathy, you get more complaining. If you reward problem solving with engagement and respect, you get more solutions. The same happens with identity. The traits you highlight in someone, even casually, tend to grow. That is part of the Pygmalion effect. People often rise or sink toward the expectations that are consistently placed on them. Teachers who were told certain students were high potential ended up treating them differently, and those students improved more, even though the label was random. Perceptual weaponization starts with framing. You decide how you will describe what is going on, at least in your own mind, and often subtly out loud. If someone is trying to guilt you, you can frame it internally as data gathering rather than an attack. You tell yourself, "They are showing me their tactics and values." Instantly, your emotional response changes. You are now observing, not drowning. If a group is panicking about a situation, you can quietly frame it as a stress test that reveals who can think under pressure. You are still in the same room, but you are no longer bound by the group's story. Timing is another lever. You do not have to respond when others want you to. Primacy effect research shows that early information often has a stronger impact on judgment than later information. The first frame people hear tends to stick. Operators use this by speaking early when setting context and speaking late when judging. They define the terms at the start, then watch others react, and only later reveal their position. They do not jump into every back and forth. They let others reveal more, commit more, and expose their angles. Then, with one well-timed statement, they can shift the course of the entire interaction. Contrast is the third lever. Human judgment is relative, not absolute. Anchoring bias shows that the first number or standard we see heavily influences later judgments. If someone offers a high price first, later offers feel cheap even if they are still high. Operators play with contrast in how they describe options and people. For example, when facing two weak options, they might say, "Both of these are low quality compared to what we could be aiming for," shifting the frame from choosing between them to rejecting the entire set. In relationships, when someone treats you badly, instead of debating that event alone, you can say to yourself, "Compared to how I treat others and how I want to be treated, this is below standard." That contrast makes it easier to detach. Observation becomes a weapon when it is tied to frame control. You train yourself to watch for speech patterns, tension in the jaw or shoulders, changes in tone when certain topics come up. You notice what makes someone speed up, slow down, look away, or over-explain. These micro-reactions show where their fears, lies, and desires live. You do not confront directly. You adjust the frame. If someone is attacking you aggressively, instead of defending your worth, you might respond as if they are revealing their stress. not your flaws. Calmly saying, "You seem very worked up about this," invites them to see themselves instead of dragging you into defense. Over time, you stop taking frames as given. You walk into a room and ask, "What story is running here, and do I accept it?" You watch how people respond to your silence, your timing, your selective attention. You see that with very small moves, you can make people feel seen, ignored, challenged, or validated in ways that shift their behavior without any obvious force. You are not loud, you are not dramatic, but you decide what game is being played and on what terms. That is perceptual weaponization, time compression thinking, collapsing distance between thought and execution. Most people live in fake time. They talk about someday, when I am ready, after things calm down, when I feel more confident. Behavioral economics research on temporal discounting shows how humans value immediate comfort over future gains. The further away a goal feels, the less real it becomes, and the more your brain chooses easy pleasure now instead. So you build long fantasy timelines. I will start the business next year. I will fix my health when work slows down. I will leave this toxic situation after I save this exact amount. These timelines rarely compress into real action. They just numb the discomfort of not moving. Operators think in decision loops, not in timelines. A loop is simple. Thought, minimum viable action, feedback, adjust. Instead of planning 10 steps in advance, they ask, what is the smallest concrete move I can make in the next 24 hours that gives me real data? For a business idea, that might be talking to 3 potential customers. For health, that might be booking 1 appointment or doing 1 workout. For a social change, that might be 1 hard conversation. Once they get feedback, they adjust the plan. They do not wait to feel ready. They use action to expose what is real. Research on implementation intentions by Peter Gollwitzer shows how powerful pre-decided if-then rules are. When people plan in advance, if situation X happens, I will do Y, they are far more likely to follow through. This removes friction at the decision point. Operators use this to kill hesitation. They decide rules such as, if it is under 5 minutes, I do it now. If I think about reaching out to someone I respect, I send a short message within 1 hour. If I feel fear about a reasonable action, I treat that as a cue to move, not to freeze. These rules compress time between thought and execution. Anders Ericsson's research on deliberate practice shows that elite performers improve by stacking many short feedback cycles, not by waiting for perfect conditions. They do focused reps, get specific feedback. The average person waits for motivation, for a better season of life, for clarity. Operators create clarity by moving. Each small loop reveals more about the environment and about their own reactions. They learn in days what others take months or years to even attempt. Delay is not neutral. Every time you do not act, your narrative brain fills the gap. It starts to invent reasons, fears, excuses, and self-attacks. You think you are just postponing. In reality, you are feeding the story that you are the kind of person who does not follow through. That story gets stronger with each delay. Soon the gap between thought and action is so wide that your own mind does not believe your plans anymore. You say you will do something, and there is no internal respect behind it. Time compression thinking is brutal at first. It exposes how much of your life has been illusion. To install it, you start small. You pick one area. Every time you think of a useful action in that area, you either do a tiny version within 24 hours, or you delete the idea completely. No endless mental storage. Act or erase. You give your brain a clear message. This mind is not a playground for fantasy. It is an operating system for execution. Over weeks, the gap shrinks. Your own self-talk starts to carry weight again, because your nervous system sees that when you think, you move. Operators starve narrative by moving before the drama builds. You can still think deeply. You can still plan. But you stop letting plans become a place where you hide. Instead of waiting to feel like doing something, you set conditions that trigger action, and you obey them. Time stops being this foggy future space. It becomes a series of tight loops where reality keeps hitting you back with information. That is where real advantage grows. Tactical identity engineering. Treating who you are as a variable You were told to be yourself, as if there is a single fixed version of you buried somewhere that you must stay loyal to. Personality research, especially the Big Five model, shows something different. Traits like extraversion, conscientiousness, or emotional stability exist on spectrums, and their expression shifts with context. People are more responsible at work than at home, more open with old friends than strangers, more bold online than in person. Your identity is not a solid statue. It is a running story you tell about yourself, backed by repeated habits. Self-schema theory and narrative identity research say that your sense of self is basically a story about who you are, where you came from, and where you are going. That story is not pure fact. It is built from selected memories, cultural input, and repeated labels. If it is a story, then it is editable. But most people treat it like a prison. They say, "I am just shy. I am just bad with money. I am just not a leader." They mistake past patterns for permanent traits. That belief keeps them acting the same, which then proves the belief true. It becomes a loop. Tactical identity engineering breaks that loop. You start treating who you are as a tool set, not a destiny. You design different roles for different arenas. The self you need for negotiation is not the same as the self you need for intimacy or for learning. In negotiation, you might want to be slower, cooler, more detached. In intimacy, you might want to be softer, more revealing, more responsive. In learning, you might want to be openly ignorant and curious. You are not faking. You are selecting which real parts of you to amplify for a specific purpose. Just as you would not wear the same clothes to the gym and to a formal event, you do not need to use the same identity settings in every situation. Habit research, popularized by James Clear, but grounded in work by B.J. Fogg and Wendy Wood, shows that identity follows action, not the other way around. When you repeatedly act like a certain type of person, your brain updates your self-story to match. If you write every day, you slowly start to believe you are a writer. If you speak up in meetings repeatedly, you start to believe you are someone who can handle attention. Tactical identity engineering uses this. Instead of waiting to feel like a confident negotiator, you design small behaviors that a confident negotiator would do, and you repeat them. Over time, your self-concept shifts. You also strip away identity labels that weaken you. When you catch yourself saying, "I am the type of person who always messes up," you treat that as a script, not a fact. You ask, "Who gave me that line?" Parents, teachers, old failures. Then you design a new role, the type of person who learns fast after mistakes. You support that new role with visible actions. You document your errors and what you changed. You move your identity from guilt to adjustment. That is not fake positivity. That is strategic reclassification. This is tactical, because different power conditions need different versions of you. In a conflict, clinging to the identity of "I must be nice" keeps you weak. In that moment, you might need the version of you that sets hard lines and does not explain much. In creative work, clinging to "I must always be productive" kills innovation. You might need the version of you that experiments, fails, and wanders. Your mistake has been trying to drag a single fragile identity into every environment. Operators do not do this. They swap roles with intent while staying loyal to a deeper set of values underneath. When you keep treating your old identity like a sacred object, you stay loyal to your limitations. You say, "This is just who I am," and turn it into a shield against growth. Tactical identity engineering replaces that shield with a toolbox. The question stops being, "Who am I really?" It becomes, "Who do I need to be in this situation to get the outcome I want? And what actions would that version of me take right now?" Then you act first, and allow your self-story to catch up. Cognitive asymmetry, never fighting on the same battlefield. Most people are mentally symmetrical. They meet direct pressure with direct pressure. Someone attacks, they defend. Someone raises their voice, they raise theirs. Someone questions their worth, they argue for their worth. It feels natural, but it is strategically weak. Game theory and strategic thinking research show that when two sides fight on the same line, the one with more resources, more status, or more preparation usually wins. When you mirror attack styles, you are playing a game the other person already prepared for. You become predictable, and predictable targets are easier to hit. Cognitive asymmetry is the habit of refusing the default battlefield. Instead of answering on the terms given, you shift the level, the goal, or the question itself. You answer questions with questions. You treat accusations as data about the accuser, not as truth about you. You turn emotional attacks into diagnostic tools. This is not about being slippery for its own sake. It is about never letting someone else's frame force you into a losing position. Imagine someone says, "Why are you always so selfish?" The symmetrical move is to defend. "I am not selfish. I do so much for you." This keeps you inside their accusation frame. The asymmetric move is to shift the focus. You might say, "What specifically are you calling selfish?" Or, "It sounds like there is something you feel you are not getting. What is that?" You have now moved the discussion from your character to their expectations and feelings. Their original weapon becomes a window into their mindset. If a manager says, "Are you even committed to this team?" the symmetrical move is to start proving your loyalty. The asymmetric move is to ask, "What would commitment look like to you in concrete terms?" Now they have to name behaviors, not attack your identity. Often manipulators do not like this, because vague accusations give them more control. Forcing specificity is an asymmetric strike. It demands clarity, which removes some of their power. Therapy and negotiation research shows that changing perspective changes the entire game. Reframing conflicts from blame to needs can transform deadlock into problem solving. Operators use this tactically. In an argument, instead of deciding who is right, they might focus on what outcome matters here. In a status fight, instead of trying to prove they are better, they might step sideways and decide the fight itself is beneath them. That decision alone breaks the loop. You cannot be controlled by invitations you refuse to accept. Asymmetry also applies to emotional battles. When someone tries to drag you into drama, your symmetrical instinct is to get just as emotional. They cry, you panic. They rage, you rage back. Cognitive asymmetry says, hold a different state. If they go high intensity, you go low and calm. If they go personal, you go structural and behavioral. They say, you never care about me. You respond with, I hear that you feel uncared for. What is an example of what you needed that you did not get? Again, you are shifting from character attacks to observable patterns. People who cannot do this stay locked in other people's stories. They fight for validation inside frames they never chose. They try to win arguments that were rigged from the start. Operators do not bother. They ask, whose game am I being invited into? And does playing it give me any real advantage? If not, they change the game or walk away. That is cognitive asymmetry. It is not about always winning. It is about refusing to lose on rules that were never yours. Pressure response override. Using stress as processing fuel. Under pressure, your brain shifts. The amygdala, which helps detect threat, ramps up. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline spike. Your attention narrows. Blood flow is pulled away from parts of the prefrontal cortex that handle complex thinking, impulse control, and long-term planning. Neuroimaging studies show that during acute stress, the brain tends to fall back on habits and simple reactions. That is why people say things they regret, forget obvious facts, or freeze when watched. Most failures under scrutiny are not about lack of knowledge. They are about the nervous system short-circuiting. Pressure response override is about keeping your thinking online when your body wants to shut it down. The first move is timed delay. When you are insulted, accused, or hit with a high-stakes question, your system flushes with heat and energy. Instead of reacting inside that spike, you force a pause of 3 to 5 seconds. You can sip water, glance away for a moment, or simply breathe and count in your head. That small gap gives your prefrontal cortex time to regain some control. System 2 needs a second to come online. Without that, you are just your amygdala with a mouth. Breath is your manual override. Slow, controlled exhalation signals safety to your body. Studies on interoception, which is your awareness of internal body states, show that people who can notice and regulate their physical signals handle stress better. Under pressure, notice your heartbeat, your breath, your stomach. Then deliberately lengthen your exhale. For example, Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 6 or 8. You do not need special techniques. The key is the longer out breath. It calms the system enough so that you can think instead of just feel. Third-person self-talk is another hidden tool. Research by Ethan Kross shows that talking to yourself in the third person during stress creates psychological distance. Instead of asking, "What should I do?" you ask, "What should he do?" or "What should she do?" It tricks your mind into stepping back from the raw emotion and seeing yourself as a person you can advise. That slight shift helps you think more clearly and act less impulsively. You are turning yourself into both the player and the coach at the same time. Pressure is a selection filter. Most people collapse not because they are unskilled, but because they cannot carry their skill into high-intensity environments. Tests, public speaking, negotiations, confrontations, all of these filter out people whose nervous systems cannot stay online. If you train pressure response override, you become rare. You do not have to be the smartest, you just have to be clear when others go blind. That alone gives you a huge edge. You can train this on purpose. Put yourself in mild stress situations and practice the sequence. Notice body, breathe slow, delay response, use third-person question. This could be during a heated meeting, a hard workout, or any situation that hikes your heart rate. Every rep tells your brain, under fire we slow down first. Over time, this becomes your default. When things heat up, you do not explode or freeze as fast. You stretch the space where choice lives. That space is where operators live. Silence coding. Using absence as a dominance tool. Silence makes most people uncomfortable. Research on social anxiety shows that even a brief pause in conversation raises heart rate and tension for many. They feel an urge to fill the gap with something, anything. Apologies, explanations, jokes, discounts, oversharing. They treat silence as failure. High-status individuals do not. They are allowed more silence by others. They are not rushed. They talk when they are ready. That permission sends a signal, my presence is enough. I do not need to constantly prove my value with words. Silence coding is the deliberate use of absence as a tool. After you say something provocative or direct, you stop. You let the words land. You resist the urge to soften them or explain them away. The other person now has to respond to what you actually said, not to a watered-down rewrite. In sales and negotiation, a classic move is to go silent after stating your price or terms. The other side often fills the gap by justifying, revealing information, or even negotiating against their own interests. Their intolerance for silence becomes your leverage. You can use silence after receiving an offer or a demand. Someone asks you for a favor that feels off. Instead of instantly saying yes or no, you pause. You look at them, maybe tilt your head slightly, but you do not speak. That small gap can make them rush to justify their request. They may lower the ask or reveal their real motives. You are gathering data without lifting a finger. Silence here is an X-ray. As a baseline, speaking less but with higher density makes your words hit harder. If you are used to rambling, you dilute your impact. People stop listening closely because they know you will eventually explain yourself 3 different ways. When you train yourself to say only what is needed and then stop, people lean in. They pay more attention. Your silence becomes as loud as your speech. Status research shows that those seen as higher value in a group are granted more space to pause, interrupt, and redirect. When you begin to act as if you have that right, by not rushing to fill every gap, many people unconsciously adjust and treat you as if you do. Silence then becomes part of your frame. You are not performing for approval. You are evaluating, deciding, and choosing how much of yourself to reveal. That is a shift from "please accept me" to "I will see if this is worth my energy." Silence coding linked with narrative deletion and velocity control changes everything. You strip away your internal stories, you slow your conclusions, and you stop flooding every space with your words. In that quieter internal and external state, you notice more. You see who cannot stop talking. You see who panics when you do not rush to reassure them. You see who will give away information just to escape a few seconds of tension. You stop being the person dancing for social comfort and start being the person others are silently trying to read. The operator line. Crossing from thinking to installation. Knowing all of this changes nothing if your behavior stays the same. You can understand narrative deletion, cognitive slowness, inversion, memory rewrite, emotional detachment, frame control, time compression, identity engineering, asymmetry, pressure override, and silence coding as ideas, and still live like a scared student chasing approval. Knowledge without installation is just better decorated weakness. It gives you more words to describe why you feel stuck, but it does not move your life. There is a cost to running this algorithm for real. You have to give up the sugar of drama, the quick hit of outrage, the comfort of instant certainty, the lazy relief of being part of the loud majority. You have to accept feeling separate at times, slower to react, less eager to join every emotional wave. You have to watch people you know keep playing the same games, and you cannot unsee how predictable they are. If that thought bothers you more than the idea of staying easily controlled, then you are not ready to cross the line yet. Installation does not require 100 new habits. It needs a few non-negotiable practices done daily. For example, narrative deletion reps. When something triggers you, you write event versus meaning at least once a day. Deliberate pauses, at least 3 times a day. When you feel the urge to respond fast, you add a short delay on purpose. Emotional desync drills. In one tense situation each day, you slow your breath and your body instead of matching the room. Frame analysis. After a conversation, you ask, what frame was running? Who said it? How did it shape behavior? These are small, but they install new defaults over time. At some point, you have to redraw your identity. You are not a student trying to be seen as smart. You are an operator building leverage. Your worth is not measured by how busy you look, how quickly you respond. It is measured by how clearly you see, how precisely you act, and how hard you are to push off your line. The algorithm you just learned is not a trick set. It is a standard. Either your nervous system starts to run on these rules, or you stay a spectator who understands power but does not have it. There is a dividing line now. On one side is the thinking crowd, fast opinions, loud emotions, constant drama, easily framed, easily sold to, easily shamed. On the other side is the operating class, quieter, slower to conclude, harder to move. Their attention is not cheap. Their reactions are not easy to trigger. Their frame is not easy to steal. The mental algorithm is in your hands now. The question is not whether you agree with it or find it interesting. The question is whether you will install it in the only place it matters, your daily behavior under stress, under temptation, under fear. That decision, made in private and proven in repetition, is what moves you across the operator line.